PFL MMA Challenger Series on March 4th from Universal Studios Orlando features the women's lightweight division with highly regarded prospect Michelle Montague. Michelle, thank you so much. Hey, tell us about this exciting opportunity. This is something new PFL is doing.
Yeah, it's I guess it's the same concept, if you will, that the Contender Series does for UFC. So the good thing about this, obviously, for females like myself who are like the bigger of the girls that sit more comfortably fighting at lightweight, it's a huge opportunity because otherwise you have to try and crack it into actual regular season off of maybe nothing or off of random other professional fights. So this gives you a chance to actually do that build up in the PFL, whether you get a developmental contract or a series one. Either way, you're still like in that scene straight away, and fighting with similar caliber of fighters rather than getting thrown straight in the deep end. So yeah, it's a massive opportunity.
How did you get this opportunity?
I'm not 100% sure.
You're just glad to get the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what came first, the chicken or the egg on this one. But Eugene had a message from Ray, I think, back in like August, and he didn't mention it because I was going over to Russia and dropping down a featherweight for that. So what would be the point? I couldn't even do it anyway. So and then he hit him up again, I think, when I got back from the States. So maybe about just when I was in Ireland, so about December. But before that, I also had a message from one of the PFL guys direct to me saying that I think he'd got my number off one of the ATT coaches. So I honestly don't know what happened, but I guess even on Tapology or whatever, I'm on there more percentage-wise as a lightweight than a featherweight anyway. So it would make sense to do this.
And this is really cool because it's for 8 Fridays, 8 consecutive Fridays. They're going to be different men and women on the cards, all from Universal Studios Orlando. And somebody will be able to compete with PFL MMA or get like you said, a developmental deal with PFL MMA. So it's a showcase of top prospects. It must make you feel really good that you're on their radar.
Yeah, it does feel nice. Like I guess I feel like it's actually no time. It doesn't feel rushed. It doesn't feel like I've kicked around for too long, like, mucking about. So it does feel good. I've had like, I guess, been training for this, or for, MMA, sorry, for I guess around 6 or so years. So not a great deal of time, but enough time where I'm happy to be going professional. 2 of those years I spent with broken legs, and the other 2 I was playing rugby, and the other 2 I finally was focusing on MMA and doing the IMMAF circuit. So it's been, in terms of like actually just solidly focusing on it, I've only had a couple of years to do it. So now it's come at actually quite a good time, and I'm glad that it wasn't any sooner.
You have an extensive wrestling background. What has the transition been like going from wrestling and getting into MMA?
Well, actually, I started them both at the same exact time. I was playing rugby. Rugby was a transition that I came off of. That's what I'd done since I was 4 years old. But yeah, so when I first started everything, I literally just Googled up MMA gym near me, and then went to Core MMA in Hamilton, which is the coach that comes with us on all the IMMAF tournaments, everything, and that there. So it's been a long journey as well. So like I just started doing every class, morning, lunch, night, and whether it was wrestling, MMA, striking, or whatever class it was, I was just doing every single class. So I did more of the wrestling and jiu-jitsu because there was basically things happening every weekend that I could participate in and compete in. So I did that, but after 5 weeks of training, I had my first fight. So I did just start everything at the same time, but wrestling goes more naturally aligns with rugby a little more with tackling and double legs and things like that there. So it for me was a bit easier to grasp at the start.
Well, in New Zealand, which is your homeland, it's where you've been training as well. Rugby is a huge sport there.
Mm.
What is MMA like in New Zealand?
MMA is certainly, I feel like, growing exponentially in New Zealand. You've got such huge idols out there for the gen pop and for people that actually, have been in the sport for a while, that it's, super motivating for them. And with things like, say, PFL Challenger Series, you've got all these females that now have another route they can go in. We've just got such a deep pool of skilled athletes in the sport, and heaps of them that are actually crossover athletes. Like, they didn't even grow up doing this since 6 years old. So imagine what it's going to be like in a generation's time when all these fighters' kids start doing it from a young age, and stick to it as they get older. I think it's going to be pretty impressive to see.
And Michelle, do you feel like then too that you're one of the ones that are helping grow this and helping grow MMA in New Zealand, and a lot of men or women, girls or boys, be looking at you and inspiring from you?
Possibly. There's females too outside of myself that are great role models for the sport, and especially in New Zealand. So, and I remember those names when I first started. So if they had that impression on me, then fair enough, I could have that on someone else also.
How did you find a place to train at in New Zealand? Recommended by somebody, or just how did that work out for you? How did you get to that part?
Oh, I literally got home from playing rugby overseas, Googled MMA gym near me, because I'm from a small country town. There's just, everybody either has a farm, a horse, or a small business. So no sort of martial arts there at that time. Still none now, really. And so I found one that was about, just under an hour drive away. So once I found it, I went there the next day, and then I just didn't stop going.
What did you take from those first few times getting out there and getting into MMA? How was it? Was it really rough? Was it something you enjoyed right away, or was it like, oh man, what's going on here?
Okay, so roughness wasn't a bother for me. Just playing rugby all my life with boys, didn't bother that. I think the first time I saw jiu-jitsu, I think I mentally questioned the sexuality of every guy there. I just did not get it and was like, what is going on? But it's just like your typical like naive outsider looking in, because I was literally an outsider sitting on the couch looking at this class, and then they're like, jump in, and then I was like, no, I'll just watch. He's like, Carlo's like, get in, jump in the class. So I jumped in and was like, okay. But I fell in love with jiu-jitsu and wrestling. I fell in love with every aspect of it after doing like one class, and it became so addictive for me.
Traveling around the world, was that from rugby? Was that from wrestling? Was that even from MMA?
The first one I did was actually, I did a good bit of like travel over there to the States from New Zealand. I think it's 2 years out of high school. I got an opportunity to work as a lifeguard at Disney World in Orlando. So I ended up doing that for 12 months. And from there, I went and visited like a little bit of Europe at the same time. Each time I went somewhere was to play rugby. But that's how I managed to get that deal in there. So when I was in the States, I met a lot of great people, and obviously a couple of friends, like even my like really good friend who housed me when I came and trained over there back in November there. So so that was an amazing opportunity. And then since then, all the travel's basically been through the IMMAF circuit.
What did you think of Disney World?
Oh, being a lifeguard, it was awesome because you get to kind of be in the sun all day. You've got the water right there. You're dealing with much nicer people than you would at like a theme park. I couldn't do that all day. So yeah, for me, I had a good experience of it, and it was in those impressionable years. So you make some good first mistakes overseas, and you learn from it.
Now, did you go? Obviously, you go to Disney. Did you go to Disney, and did you have any favorite ride that you went on at Disney?
Oh, I honestly loved Epcot because I just love food. And so I loved going there. I wasn't of age to drink, so like I just went there and ate all the food the whole time. I think probably my favorite would be that Superman ride. Is it that goes super fast? Oh no, not Superman. What are the ones that goes super fast and you just sit there and you're just like you can't even breathe basically. So whatever
Well,
ride that
see,
was epic.
I'm old school. So if you're talking Disney, I'm going to say Space Mountain. If you're talking Epcot, I don't
Um,
know any fast rides at Epcot. I know Epcot has a lot of the countries, each country, and they have
yeah,
some rides there and all. But I'm more of a Disney person as far as the rides go. But Epcot
yeah,
is really cool. Epcot, that's going to go from one country to the other and experience that. And the people, they really resonate that country, which is so cool too.
yeah. Probably like the Mexico part in Epcot was amazing. I just blew my mind to walk inside this building from the outside that looks like nothing. To go inside, they've got all the fake dark sky. It looks like it's massive. That for me was pretty stunning.
And then you mentioned horses. So, how many horses do you have?
No, my parents, I think, they co-bought one racehorse one time just to like be amongst it, small town wise, whatever they get up to. But I think it was a bit of a flop because I think it went backwards out the stalls on the race. So so that didn't last very long. But the family business was the side that we focused on for all my life there.
Well, did you ever then, or were you too big to be a jockey?
Oh my god, I would eat a jockey for breakfast.
That's great. That's a great
Honestly.
line. That's a quote. That's quotable. That's going viral. Oh my gosh. Well, listen, so interesting some of your background because what I was reading, we're in South Florida. I'm in South
Mm,
Florida. American Top Team is right down the road.
yeah.
Award winning, Coconut Creek, South Florida. And how did you get that opportunity to come here to be an American Top Team to train and also train and help Amanda Nunez and also PFL MMA two-time champion Kayla Harrison?
Um, yeah, I think it's just helps to talk to people and just be open and honest. And yeah, honestly looking forward to getting back to the States into a country that's open and free and being able to train. So um, yeah, didn't work with Amanda, but yeah, did a lot of training with Kayla, and yeah, that was super beneficial. Obviously, Micah's a super knowledgeable coach and athlete, and working with someone that's a very similar style of fighter to me. And having their coach right there was basically like I was getting coached that whole time, and essentially I was, um, and also just mad to feel that level of judo/wrestling strength as well. Because you know, if she thinks I'm strong and I think she's stronger, it's it's a good spot to put you in that position a lot. Because yeah, New Zealand I feel like it has more so like stronger strikers. Um, for whatever reason. I guess there's no like girl wrestlers. We have like 3 senior females in the whole country, so competition there isn't really any. And so, but in terms of striking, there's hundreds of top class girls, so that builds itself up. And then over there to have such a strong grappler to train with is insane.
Well, Michelle, was it you contacting them or was there someone there that got a hold of you to come and do that?
Yeah, no, I contacted them, and I think it was a few days in that one of the coaches just saw I was the perfect size, over 70 kilos kind of thing, walking around to 165 pounds, whatever, to train with her and know that I'm not the sort of person that comes in and goes balls to the wall on new training partners. I take care of them and am super respectful as well. So I guess it just worked. It worked in well with what they would want, and then you know, what worked well for me as well.
Hey, Michelle, that's incredible. Did you think that I might get turned down from American Top Team? Or were you just that confident that you were like, hey, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be able to go there and train there and also work with others there?
No, I knew that like, oh, they might be like piss off, but But yeah, like I said, just had an open honest conversation. And well, Eugene also flicked a message through to Mike as well, just to be like, hey, blah blah blah. So it just worked out well on both sides of it, and yeah, can't wait to get back over there.
Was there a plan B if plan A did not work out?
Yeah, I just would have I think maybe gone to one of their like baby gyms maybe, but they're more so, I think they're more so jiu-jitsu. I don't know. Either way, I would have done something to train. I was, I was going to be there for a few months. So, and I was supposed to have world champs coming up. So I was going to be training either way.
What was it like in South Florida? And did you like South Florida?
Oh, I love South Florida. Like it's almost like I was meant for that place, like, even when I was back there all that, like, what, 7 years ago, whatever it was, um, for me, it suits me perfectly. I grew up on a farm with rivers and hunting and fishing. It's like in my blood. So to go somewhere where it's hunting and fishing, a bit of a beach, you go out into the green swamps and that there. Everybody's super chill. We dress the same, like just relaxed gear, um, and the warm weather with a bit of rain. I'm like, this suits me perfectly.
Now you mentioned hunting and fishing, so I'm going to say, did you get to go to the Everglades and did you get to go on an airboat?
I didn't go on an airboat. It was on my little radar of things that could be quite cool, but I'm definitely gonna go next time I come back in a month or so. But yeah, I did get out there for a little bit of fishing with one of my buddies from the gym. And it was just so peaceful and so nice. The only thing, those mosquitoes that bite you through your clothing, just that creep me the fuck out.
Yeah, that's a year-long problem here in South
Oh man,
Florida.
yeah.
So
Apart from that, it was so good, just out there with a beer, fishing. It was peaceful. The sunset was stunning. Yeah.
well, you mentioned too about food and Epcot and just South Florida itself. What food did you get to try here in South Florida?
Well, my favorite food is sushi. So I had this little spot down in Pompano where I was staying around the corner from my house, and I went there like pretty much every day after a big training, and just ordered so much sushi that the guy there was like a little bit scared, and I would just eat the whole lot. I'd sit there for like an hour and a half, just slowly eating my way through it, like. So I would definitely say the sushi there is on point, and that was always my go-to. But we also had these things. It was like a deep fried taco almost. It was something delicious, and yeah, again, just some crazy sort of South American food like that there.
Fort Lauderdale, Hard Rock Sushi,
Oh,
down by the beach. There
yeah.
you go. When you get a
Oh,
chance to be able to do that when you're not in training, it's okay to eat.
hey, I can eat sushi in training. I can eat all the food.
Wow. Hey, Michelle, were you here for the PFL semifinals and finals because they were
Yeah,
held in South Florida? And were you here for that? Did you get to go to that?
I went to the finals. Yeah, yeah,
What was that experience like, just being a part of that? And then obviously seeing not only Kayla, but Raush and Antonio
yeah.
be able to win and become champions.
Yeah, that was pretty spectacular. Yeah, I went during that week there to catch up with Jenna, who obviously was an alternate for that week. Like she had to make weight and everything. Yeah, so she was ready to go on point and all that there, and then went to the fight night. It was her with her coach as well, and they ended up, obviously the girls in the final carried on being in the final, but that was pretty epic to see. I'm sure Clarissa fought that night too, didn't
Yes,
she? Yeah,
she
yeah.
did.
So honestly, it was a fascinating fight night and super exciting, and to see the energy from all the Floridians, from the top team guys winning, and girls obviously, and yeah, to just see some real dominant finishes as well. It was pretty awesome.
What is your nickname and how did you get the nickname?
The wild one, yeah. I just, since the moment I popped out of my mum, I've just been an absolute wild child, like running around the farm just half naked with like hair stuck in my face and stuff like that there, and riding around on motorbikes, crashing go-karts, jumping on cows to ride them out of the cow shed and then getting on the wrong one, like the not friendly one, all sorts of things like that there. I just saw myself as super independent, even if I was doing something wrong. And just, yeah, it probably took me like 20 odd years to kind of like rein it in a little bit.
And it's just fascinating too with your rugby background, because you don't find too many rugby players transitioning to MMA. But what a physical sport rugby is. And I'm curious, how good is your haka? And is that something you could do as an individual before an MMA fight?
No, you do it as like a group, and like, so we had one for rugby, obviously a female version, so one that you probably wouldn't have seen before. And yeah, we learnt that and did that before our rugby games, and yeah, you just feel so ready and united and strong and powerful from it, and you always learn the meaning behind it all. And we did it as a team before our Kiwi boys IMMAF final just the other week in Abu Dhabi as well. And us two girls just did it off to the side, and the boys all did the male parts together. But yeah, you wouldn't do it by yourself for yourself, so you kind of have it done for you or as a group before. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, every time I've seen it, right, it's been a group. Anything I've seen on YouTube or on TV and all. But I thought, how cool would it be to sort of incorporate a little of that into your MMA fight and try to intimidate your opponent?
Definitely not. It would be very bad. It would be very bad.
It's better as a group than it is as an individual.
Yeah, it would be like kind of disrespectful for just the one person just doing it for themselves, just randomly, like, and yeah, it wouldn't be good.
The history of it is more of a group, a team, unity type of war dance, war chant or war style.
Yeah, not just some like random like white girl doing it overseas for herself. It would just be so bad, so bad. Wouldn't.
And Michelle, now that where you are at your point of your career, you mentioned you are going to be coming back down to South Florida. Will you be training before your fight in Orlando down here?
What I wanted to was to do that, absolutely, but because of our ridiculous quarantine system here, I couldn't get the visa before I went to Worlds for IMMAF, so I had to come home, and now I'm sitting in a hotel room for 2 weeks. So I've got obviously training gear in here. I've just come off the back of a full fight camp and 2 fights, so the first week's probably actually a good rest for me in terms of physicality. And so but yeah, so it's honestly, I'm doing my training from in this hotel room for these 2 weeks, and when I get out, I'll have 2 weeks until the fight's on. I need to get the visa in hand and get over there, and obviously then it'll be basically fight week. So it's not ideal, but we'll work with what we got.
You just got to adapt to do the best you can.
Honestly, yeah.
But you seem like a person that if that's what you have to do, that's what you'll do.
Absolutely.
And Michelle, what are the goals now? Is the goal right now focus on PFL and this Challenger Series and hopefully being part of the tournament and becoming a PFL champion?
Eventually, yes. I think that this is my first pro fight. It's probably better to get the developmental contract, but whatever happens on the night happens. You don't know how everyone else is going to perform and all that there. I mean, I'm going in as a first time, for my pro debut against a girl who's had 6 pro fights. So, and then the other girls on the card, I think, have all had at least 2. So, if they're giving one contract out that night there, if we're going to be real, there's probably girls that are going to be better suited for that, experience-wise. They may or may not be better, who knows? But experience-wise, So that developmental contract would probably be ideal for me for, maybe a year, get 4 fights in there, and then be ready for the next season.
would the future hold you coming back to South Florida and living in South Florida, or do you miss New Zealand too much?
Who knows? We'll see what the cards hold.
And lastly, professional wrestling is a big thing. And at American Top Team, Dan Lambert, the co-founder, has been on AEW. He's brought Junior Dos Santos with him, Paige Van Zant, Austin Vanderford. Kayla Harrison was on the show with him once as well. I'm just wondering, Michelle, your thoughts of pro wrestling. And if Dan Lambert and ATT came and called Michelle and said, hey, Michelle, come on, we got to go to a show. We got to go to AEW one night. Would you be ready to go?
Of course I would go. It'd be a good laugh. It would be entertainment for me. And bit of those things you could be like, I did that. I've honestly never watched like pro wrestling ever. I've seen bits and pieces, but I just can't bring myself to actually watch it. I think if someone like broke it down and helped me understand like what it actually is, like I could possibly appreciate it better. But yeah, without that understanding, it's hard for me to grasp like the concept or like really respect it. But it's hugely popular. There's some big bucks in it. So hey,
who knows?
who knows, mate? Who knows?
All right, Michelle. Well, listen, thanks for taking the time to do this. All the best to you and all your successes and all. And just we'll see you here in Orlando, in Central Florida, for the big
Absolutely.
PFL Challenger Series. Thank you.
Thank you so much.